governor should be owing salaries anymore, because they are getting ×3 of what they were earning before. So if a governor is paying, all the backlogs of salaries that are being owed should have been cleared. So that when we want to start this new minimum wage, okay, governors can now start saying, okay, yes, this is new. I can pay. I know the minimum wage is 100,000 or 200,000, because I believe the minimum wage should be between 100 to 150. That's my thinking. Anyway, okay. I don't know what.
That's you negotiating.
Yes, I don't know how much. Labor. On behalf of okay, let me say on behalf of labor, because I'm looking at, I don't know what the tripartite committee will bring out, but 615,000. I'm not sure is workable. But I know between 100 to 150.
Is it realistic? No, you say it's not realistic. Is it sustainable? Because, I mean,
yeah, because the thing is, if I tell you, Jumoke, I want to be paying you 3 million naira to work for me.
Okay.
You know, and I look at the job that you'll be doing. If it's not going to fetch me enough money to pay you by the 3 million. You know, not just the 3 million. There will be some other allowances. So it's 3 million plus. So if the 615 is realistic, but just like you said, is it sustainable? Because if governors say, okay, oh, no problem, 615, say you want 615, they'll say yes, they will sign. But not the first thing, there will be far-reaching implications. One, they will sack people so that they will be able to pay. And I'm not sure NLC will be ready for their members to be sacked. So what they will be looking at is they also have to sit down and begin to reason. They shouldn't think that there's money because our president has said subsidy is gone, then there's enough money. The governors, they've been giving them money. What are they doing with it? So that is where NLC is supposed to be talking. Those governors that are earning more now, what are they doing with the money? But the 615 cannot be sustained and cannot. I don't see it happening.
All right.
You know, I don't see it happening. You know,
I
don't want to even go there.
I think we have a lot of respect for the Nigerian Labour Congress. You know, one of the highly dignified organizations in this country, and we also agree, the governors and Labour, there is a platform of agreement. There is need for workers' salaries to go up.
Yes,
absolutely.
No, that one is a given.
Not negotiable.
Yeah.
We also agree that there's inflation. That people are losing their jobs. We are even having galloping inflation now. You know, look at tariff in electricity. If you are not careful, your salary is not even enough for you to pay electricity alone. So then look at fuel hike. So people are being pushed to the extreme. That is the truth. So I think one of the ways to address this problem is to increase workers' salary. However, we need to also look at the fact that what is realistic. If my income, I pay 60% of my income, workers' salary, and you are now saying I should pay 120%, how do you want me to get that money to be able to pay up?
Labour says every state can pay. It's just for the state governors to
you see, I think there are a lot of things that the NSA has failed to do. It's not just, yes, you need to fight for your workers. In the days of Asan Sumonu, there is a research and documentation department that you table your grievances to convince Nigerians with facts and figures. Even NANS, our own NANS that I was a member, that was what we used to do in those days, under Emazazu, Lanre, Nasiru Kura. We'll do our research. And they say, look, government, you are spending this on buying vehicles. You are spending this on the training. So you can save money from this and this and that, then you can pay. You don't need to start tuition in the universities. And when we go for debate with the leadership at that time, they will respect us because we are coming with figures. So, and the Nigerian Labour Congress has the best opportunity to get those figures. They are the one working in the civil service. They are the one working with the presidency who are members of NLC. So you are not in short of figures. Your members can tell you, look, this is what state government are spending on this and that. So I think what the NLC has done, demanding for over half a million. I mean, over half a million.
Yeah, half a million.
To me, let's be honest, it's not realistic. I don't think any state government can pay that. They cannot avoid it. It's going to destabilize the country. So,
yes,
then I realize the fact that you want to negotiate from position of strength, so that when you come with a figure, then but then you need to be realistic. So they need to work with ICANN, so that when they are talking authoritatively, and then Nigerians will be able to appreciate what they are saying. So for now, I don't think government can,
All right, gentlemen, joining us via Zoom for more discussion on this issue is a political and social affairs commentator, Achike Chude. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can. I'm sure you've been listening to our conversation, but how feasible is this demand, 615,000 naira?
Very easy to say it's not feasible because it has everything to do with the ordinary Nigerians. And so we can wish it away, that it's not feasible. It's unrealistic. How feasible are the monies that have been collected by government officials, government functionaries, members of the National Assembly, members of the State House of Assembly? The 5 billion naira that was approved for judges in the country recently, apart from their pecks, that they are getting. How feasible, how realistic can the country bear all of these expenses being given to these people? Of course, the country cannot. A country that is, wallowing serious, penury, that has to, from what we are told, that is indebted to international financial institutions, that is spending about 90% of its budget, to pay to pay debt services and all that, and not even the principal or the principal for the monies that they have borrowed from these multilateral financial institutions. And yet, easily they can accommodate monies that go to the members of National Assembly and then the executive and buy, private jeeps and all that. Instead of, even though you have local manufacturing, entities for some of these vehicles, but they will prefer to buy state-of-the-art cars from abroad and the rest. And then when it comes to ordinary Nigerians, like the
Mr. Chude, are you there? Okay.
Yes, when it comes to their welfare, we say it is not feasible. And I don't want to hold brief for the government that perhaps the NLC has not done its job. I don't know what the NLC goes to those meetings with. I don't know whether they go there with facts and figures. But it makes sense that if they are saying that, look, these monies that they are asking the government to pay, that government can pay it, it is because, I want to believe that it is because they have done their groundwork and that they are able to bring facts and figures to the government when they go for negotiation. Otherwise, they will be foolish to make statements without being in a position to back up these statements with facts and evidence. So these are some of the issues. But let's even look at what they're asking for, 650,000 naira. And they broke it down. I think the NLC president broke it down. And I'm not sure there's any Nigerian that is conversant with the present socio-economic realities in this country that can say the breakdown of these figures are unreasonable. There's a housing, provision for housing for 40,000 naira. It's not even enough when you go on a monthly basis, how much people are paying, workers are paying for housing. In many places, in many parts of the country, 40,000 naira monthly. Electricity, 20,000 naira monthly. Of course, you know that it has gone up in many places. There's utility of 10,000 naira, kerosene gas monthly, 25,000 naira. You know how much these things are costing. These things are not exactly cast in stone. There could be variations depending on circumstances and all that. There's a medical of 50,000 naira a month. But where you have the major issue is food, which they put at 9,000 naira per day for a family of 6, mother, father, and 4 children. And that is the average in terms of number of children that such people, have. So 9,000 naira a day breaks down to 1,500 naira a day, which is reasonable. For per person a day, which is reasonable. 500 food in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, which is more than reasonable. And that translates to 270,000 naira. 270,000 naira a month, only for food. When you break all the other ones down, you realize that they are not very stupid, to come up with this kind of proposal. And yet, of course, we know that during negotiation, these things might be cut down, drastically. But I think it is not too charitable to say that their expenses, are realistic when the expenses when money is being given to government functionaries, high-ranking government functionaries who have no business collecting the amount of money they're collecting.
All right, Mr. Chude. I mean, from the report we read earlier, governors have vowed to pay only sustainable minimum wage. I mean, for us, how do you define this? And from your own perspective, what constitutes sustainable wage?
Well, sustainable is defined by them, obviously. Yeah, they want to do projects, they want to do this and all that. But the question we also have to ask ourselves, and again, maybe that's where I might say the workers have not done enough, in terms of maybe the kind of research they should do. Let them give us an idea how much, how much is the quantum of money that is being stolen across this country by state governors, by government functionaries and all that. So let us know, because the monies that have been stolen are monies that should be able to go back to these states to be able to meet up with their general responsibilities of providing for the people, including paying salaries and pensions and all that. So how much money in terms of percentage is being stolen? Because as we are talking today, we all know the issue with endemic corruption within the system, and it is true. Nobody is denying it. So they should also factor this and give us an idea. Then when they give us an idea, then we can say, okay, yeah, perhaps we can, work also with this money. You're also talking about security votes that go to government. In some states in this country, at least a few states in this country, as much as 2 billion naira from what we have been told is being allocated for security votes. What is this money for? Who accounts for this money? Of course, it is not being accounted for by anybody. And if you understand what is going on, the security vote is an arrangement by the political class to allow governors to take as much money as they can through legalized illegitimate ways or illegitimately legalized ways that nobody asks questions about it. Can we have some of these security votes or all of these security votes being cancelled so that they can be dedicated towards the payment of salaries for workers? We know how much that would translate in a month. These are questions we should be asking, but everybody, just decides to keep quiet when it comes to things like this. So when the governors say, well, it's not sustainable, they will define sustainable because they are the executive excellencies. They know everything. They are wiser than every other person. And so whatever they say, we must respond to those things. But like I said, let workers confront them with facts and figures. That's where I would have built some of the panelists there. If they're able to confront them with these facts and figures, then we can now make more vigorous argument with the public space.
Just like we said earlier, I know just if 615,000, okay, if we are just going to calculate it, that is just the minimum. What of that is maybe level 1 to 8 or something. But by the time we start calculating it to up to level 15 and thereabout, you know how much it will be. Yes, like Achike said, NLC needs to come up with, they have to break down those figures.
All right.
1 + 1. And then from there, we'll be able to, they have a committee. They are part of that committee.
Let me bring in more questions for him. All right, Mr. Chude, Labour threatened showdown. Are you still there?
I can hear you.
Yeah, so Labour threatened showdown if 615,000 naira is not paid. And in some quarters, they say they are open to negotiations. What is the implication of this? If after May 30th?
Well, let's just say it's part of the pressure point, building up the pressure point and all that. Labour has not, in a way, I think they find themselves in a dilemma. Look, we all understand the fact that we have serious socioeconomic crisis in the country. There's no doubt about that. And there's also no doubt that the political class seems not to know exactly what to do to pull us back from the economic doldrum where they have put us into. So look, Labour, I think what the Labour is trying to do is the carrot and the stick. The extreme measure that they have, really, they are cheating, is the power of strike. That can only be deployed when every other thing has failed. So negotiation must trump at the end of the day. But unfortunately, again, it would appear that the government also is playing a cat and mouse game with them. They have postponed this desire to negotiate with Labour, for so long. And Labour finds itself in a very difficult situation because they have members that are putting pressure on their leadership, accusing the leadership of being ineffective and all that. And so we hope that we're not going to get to that level, but I think that all hands must be on deck by all stakeholders at federal level, at state level, including members of the private sector, to be able to do something about what is going on. But beyond that is that the government and across states and especially at the federal level must act to begin to rescue this country from the economic morass that it finds ourselves. Because if you don't improve upon the economy, and ensure that there is, the right kind of economic dynamics to stimulate growth, to stimulate serious economic productivity and activity, then it is going to be very difficult to also get even members of private sector to participate fully with whatever agreement is arrived at, during this tripartite and negotiation. So all hands must be on deck. I hope that the government will not just keep on, playing this.
All right, Mr. Chude, kindly hold on while we take caller Uche from Ota. Good afternoon to you, Uche.
Thank you. I think the Labour should consider a lot of factors. These are very important things to consider. Are they fighting for only government workers? What percentage of Nigerian workers are, working for government? Can I afford to pay $615,000 for my driver? Can the school teachers, the primary school teachers, the private schools afford that? The ones in the supermarket, can they afford to pay that quantum of money? What is the implication of it on inflation? We need to consider a lot of things. So it's not just a matter of banking figure around, and if they give so much, they are suggesting so much amount. Naturally, people will expect something that is high, and they will not be able. If they are not able to get it, then there will be the issue of problem with payment and all the stuff.
Thank you so much, Uche. Thank you for your contribution. Mr. Chude, let me come back to you. Labour and government, how do you think both parties can reach a compromise on this matter?
Well, the Labour leadership is not made up of, they are not aliens, they are Nigerians. They are also living the experience that other Nigerians are living. And so they are not unreasonable people. And I think it would be wrong for people to attribute unreasonableness to them. There are people that can sit down with you and discuss and arrive at, some solution. And I think that they are willing to arrive at reasonable solutions. They have made sacrifices in the past. Don't also forget. I mean, if you look at where we are today, the average Nigerian worker is far worse off than where he was, even where the minimum wage of 18,000 naira was being paid. In fact, by the time they were paying 18,000 naira was worth around something dollars, about $53, $54. Today, 30,000 naira is the minimum wage, and then that is worth around $23. That as a result of the crisis we are having in the economy, and so it means again that the worker, cannot survive, absolutely survive, because these are existential issues. These are not demands for convenience, for workers to begin to, have a jolly good time. It's about how the basic minimum that they can, access, amount of money that they can access for them to be able to live at least a reasonable, lives. And so I think that if the government itself has to be serious. There are many loopholes. There are many ways they say they cannot pay. There are also places, apart from the corruption that I have talked about in the country, apart from the issue of, the security votes that should be taken away from these governors, put back into state economy. There is also leakages. There are also leakages that are taking place every day. The amount of crude oil that is being stolen, in this country amounts to billions of naira on every single day. Any country that is desirous of progress, of development, cannot for one day continue to allow the theft of crude oil. And so that is a test of governance. It's a test of the credibility of the political leadership that you have. There is no country in this world, any oil-producing country, that loses barrels of crude oil the way that they are being lost in Nigeria. So you need to block all those avenues. And once you can block all of these avenues, then you're going to enhance, your revenue collection, and that will be, that would augur well for the payment of, worker salaries and, this minimum wage, and then so many other things that governments need to do. They will be able to do all of this, tackle corruption. These are the issues. And then this ostentatious living that our political class continues to live. We should also reduce, the cost of governance, especially when it comes to salaries and the emoluments of political office holders. It should go down much more, by as much as 60%. You cannot, this issue of members of National Assembly collecting constituency of allowance of around 35 million or 30 million or whatever it is. They don't need it, actually, if you look at, when you look at what is going on within the economy. So these are loopholes. And I think I would expect beyond even the government itself, would want the political class in Nigeria to really come together so that we can have what you call, political consensus, elitist consensus, so that they can realize that, look, this thing we have done in this country, we've done it for so many years, and it's not helping anybody and can never help anybody, and now the country is on the brink. We need to change our ways. We need to really, for the first time, begin to think about the welfare and interest of our country above our own welfare and interest. When you have that kind of dialogue, that kind of resolution, that kind of agreement, and it is being implemented, then you realize that a lot of things will begin to move easier for this country.
All right.
Then you get, to some extent, meet up with the expectations of the workers.
All right. Asuko has a question for you.
Okay, Mr. Achike, so many people are talking about living wage. Do you think Nigeria is ripe for living wage? For maybe, since things are going like this, do you think we are ripe for living wage now that we just want to set, everything, at least just like we are starting afresh? Should we go to living wage?
Living has to do with existence. So what they are asking for when they say living wage is wage that can enhance my existence as a human being.
Yeah, food,
wage
shelter.
that can enhance my existence as a human being, so that I could have human dignity. Because every human being is entitled to dignity. So there is dignity of work, there is the dignity of the pay of the salaries that you're getting. And the only way that you can enhance that your economic dignity is to ensure that whatever you earn at the end of the month as a result of the work you are putting is enough to do some basic things. We are not asking the workers, when they're asking for 615,000 naira, they are not asking for money that would enable them to buy cars. They can never buy cars with that kind of money, with the kind of economy that we're having. They can never be able to do certain things, that under normal circumstances would be, one could say comfortable. So they are not exactly asking for money that will really make them very, very comfortable with all the good things of life. But the basic necessities of life, clothing, shelter, and food. And I think once we can have a wage that is able to take care of this, clothing, shelter, and food, then you can say, yes, that the workers are getting a living wage. That's what it means. And so what the NLC is trying to say, with the breakdown of this 615,000, I think they will consider it a living wage, that they will be able to take care of electricity, housing, utility, kerosene, and all that, medical, food, sanitation, education, transportation. So that's what you call a living wage. I think they broke it down.
All right.
It makes a lot.
All right, Mr. Chude, let me put you on hold once again while we take Olaniyi from Surulere. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. I would like to contribute to your discussion.
All right.
Yeah. What I want to say is that the labor people have mixed everything up. It's not only they should be fighting for salary alone. They should be fighting for the common man. And you can imagine when the honorables want to buy this vehicle from abroad and everything. They're supposed to occupy the National House of Assembly and tell the government that why are they buying this vehicle? What are they using it for? I know majority of them have a lot of cars and everything. We have some other people in the other clime that they are using their own personal car. What are they using that vehicle for? This is the labor supposed to be fighting for. It's not only salary. Salary cannot take us to anywhere.
All
look
right.
at the cost of gas, look at the cost of petrol. They're supposed to occupy the National Assembly. This car, you are not buying this. So all these 665 is not realistic. That's my own contribution.
All right, thank you, Olani. Thank you for your contribution. That's another angle.
No, that's another
Well,
one.
Mr. Chude, let me come back to you. NLC president.
Can I say something?
All right,
Let
please.
me say, Olani, my brother there, Olani, he's spoken well, but he gets it absolutely wrong, 100% wrong. It is not the duty and responsibility for Labour to fight for the Nigerian people. We should get it right. Nigerians must be able to fight for themselves. Civil society must be able to fight for themselves. You know, and civil society is made up of course, not just the normal civil society, the professional civil societies, and you know, and all that. You're also talking about people, church people, you know, Muslims here, Nigerians everywhere. They should be able to know that they have an interest, because somebody has said that the price we have to pay for democracy is eternal vigilance. And eternal vigilance is holding the government accountable. The primary responsibility of Labour leadership is to their members. They are the ones that elected them. Go and look at the various international conventions. There is nowhere where it says that the responsibility and the role of Labour is to fight for all the citizens of their country. It's to fight for their membership. And by fighting for their membership, because their membership are also members of the civil society. So once in a while, they speak on behalf of the Nigerian people when things are going wrong.
Once in a while, all right.
And let me just make this clear. Don't forget that 25 years ago, 30 years ago, when we were fighting the military, it was civil society that led the fight against military dictatorship in this country. Labour was always an appendage to that struggle. Labour would always join. Don't forget, I mean, we are talking at the days of the campaign for democracy, when they were at the peak of their performance, at the peak, you know, of their patriotic duties to this country before they went to decline. I'm talking about the campaign for the defense of human rights, CDHR, and the CLO, and all of that. So they were the ones that led the struggle. These were Nigerians, and then once they got into active, you know, opposition to the government and all that, the Nigerian Labour Congress or Labour had no choice than to join them. But today, those organizations have declined, and generally civil society has declined in the country. We still have a few that are doing their best to raise the consciousness of the Nigerian people. But it is, I mean, but the fact that Nigerians have failed to hold the government accountable, they are asking NLC to do that job for them. It is not their job. Because it is even against, to some extent, against, you know, international parties, looking at the various international instruments of the international, you know, convention, you know, of the international organization, the ILO. So Nigerians are getting it wrong. Let Nigerians get up and begin to do what they should do then, so that Labour can also join them.
All right, Mr. Chude, let me ask you, because NLC President Joe Ajero has said or claimed that every state governor has the capacity to pay the 615,000 naira. It is only a matter of setting their priorities right. What do you say to state governors on the need to start taking care or thinking of how to take care of their own citizens, how to generate more money for their states?
Look, the Nigerian system is absolutely wrong. First of all, and you cannot build nothing on, you know, something that just isn't there. We need to do something to redress the political economic situation in this country in a more holistic way. The present structure of the Nigerian state is not sustainable. You know, it's something that has created problem for every other person. What I'm saying, people have talked variously about the need to restructure the system and all that. Now, whether it's fiscal responsibility, you know, federalism and all that, but the reality is that the political class have to come together. And we must be able to look at the constitution of this country and look at the defense. But there are also some very, very good aspects of this constitution. What do we retain? A situation where over 90%, you know, of the resources of this country is in the hands of the federal government, you know, and states have no choice. And cannot make money from the resources that are found in their states. I think it's a tragedy. And that's why we continue to have so much concentration at the center, because it is at the center that you can dispense a lot of federal largesse. You know, and so what I would expect is, let all of these mineral resources, and there is no state in this country that does not have any, you know, let them be fully exploited by the states. Give them to the states. And make sure that the states are able to pay a reasonable amount of money in terms of taxes. So what you are now going to see is that, to the federal government, what you are now going to see is that the states might take as much as 80% or 70% of this revenue in their states. They are going to be awash with money. And then all of 36 states in this country, including the Federal Capital Territory, would be maybe contributing 10 or 15% or 20% to the federal government. The federal government is also going to be awash with money. So you now have states that are awash with money, federal government that are awash with money. But in the process of doing this, you must also set up a system of accountability and probity in all of these states. Because again, what has happened with regards to our resources in the past how many years, since 1999, is that even when the states are in charge of their resources, the same corruption that we're seeing also would also dominate. I mean, in terms of how these monies are used. And a lot of this money will go by way of corruption. So we must have at the central level a way of controlling, having an effective anti-corruption system to ensure that as more money that comes to the state and the center, that we have enough capacity to be able to monitor how these monies are being expended. That's what I think.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for your perspective. We were speaking with a political and social affairs commentator, Achike Chude. Thank you so much, sir. Have a great afternoon.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Right, gentlemen, you heard him. He talked about cutting the cost of governance, social reform, accountability on the part of governments.
Well, I think I agree with him, but those things will not happen if there is no well-defined roadmap to address them. For instance, if you are talking about security votes for governors, it's not enough for us to issue press statements. We need to take practical steps to be able to address such issues. Either, the NLC supporting a bill that will address that. If NLC has started maybe about 10 years ago, we'll have been able to get somewhere. Then also in the area of the NLC putting down figures that we can agree with. We are all part of the history of this country. You see, in 1981, the minimum wage at that time was 125 naira, and there was a general strike. The NLC at that time had focal voices. In fact, they were working with ASU. At that time, the people that would speak for NLC were economists, people like Professor Skotoyo, that when he talks, you know that an authority is talking. People like Dr. Edwin Madonago, people like Dr. Bala Mohammed. These are people that when they speak out, you know that, oh, Comrade Olaoni, who's studying in Eastern Europe, a world-class economist. So these people will talk, they will know that, oh, NLC is talking about. And even 1991, during the general strike, over that, Labour wanted 250 naira. It was, a kind of something that we all rallied around. And I don't agree with him that Nigeria Labour Congress cannot, primarily, it's not about. Nigeria Labour Congress about 5 million.
That's debatable, yes.
They have children, they have women, they have brothers and sisters. And I had participated in NLC strike before. And I'm not a member of NLC.
All right, gentlemen.
I was in the student movement.
Let's quickly move on. The animosity generated during the 2023 elections continued to impact national discourse. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway project, described by many as an ambitious infrastructure, has generated heated debate from different quarters. In his part, the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, accused the former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, of inciting people of the Southeast against the federal government. Obi responded by saying the allegation is a baseless distraction designed to tarnish his character. He insists that his focus is on fostering constructive dialogue and inclusivity rather than engaging in divisive politics. Asuko, let me start with you. What's this about?
Well, I understand where this whole thing is coming from. I know the Labour Party presidential candidate is always, he always wants to be in the news. He wants to, criticize government policies and all that, And so someone like Umahi, who is an engineer, felt that it's like you don't understand what this whole thing is about, And he was just trying to, in essence, trying to tell him, calm down, let me do my work, because we have a project to do, we have a work to do, and we are doing it. I don't want to, let me say this, sometimes, Mr. Peter Obi sometimes say things that are not,
Correct.
Correct, which is maybe not carrying out his full research before going out to the public. But people will not agree with it. But that is just the real truth, And for Umahi, I think Umahi has seen this in him for a very long time. And he just decided that day that he has to take a swipe at him. To me, it was very, very unnecessary, for him to have, gone ahead to hit him. You know your work. You know your what. Just go ahead and do what you wanted to do. Because this is a very, very good project. And I know that so many people have been complaining about them taking their lands and all that. I can say categorically, I've been a victim of something like this, development. When development wants to come, there will be victims, I remember when Godswill Akpabio wanted to do a major road that links from my village to the stadium, the bed of nests, the stadium, the biggest stadium, and one of the most beautiful stadiums in Africa. Our ancestral land was affected. You understand? It was affected. And at the end of the day, we did not carry placard. Government had negotiation with us. We had to move to other places that we had houses and all that. Even the compensation was paid and all that. Well, so I know what the people on that particular coastal area they are going through right now. It's just unfortunate because even if they go to court, what the Constitution says, I'm not sure they will be able to defeat the federal government. Yeah. But for this particular case between Umahi and Obi, it is what I call family matter. It is from the Southeast, so they will deal with it from the Southeast. I will tell you something. There are some people in the Southeast. It's more or less like both of them are in two different parts. I feel it's an ego thing. Umahi does not see Mr. Obi as someone that can be challenging our president. This is my boss. My boss sends me on an errand, and I have to do it, and you are telling me another thing. So he's just trying to respond to him in that way. So, but for there to be peace, for there to be peace, and he said so many things, which I think, if I am a supporter of Mr. Peter Obi, I will have to also go and look at his antecedents. Are these things true or not? But in terms of the coastal road, I feel that Nigerians should just give it it's trial. Let it go. Let's just see how it goes. Those who need to be compensated, I know so many people's houses will go. Please and please, they need to compensate them. That is why the state government also has to get involved. If they need to also give them another land or push them somewhere that they will be comfortable, they should do that. Right. So that engagement, that talking, that communication should continue. They shouldn't just take it like a fiat.
We'll come back to that. Adeoye, let me have your first reaction to this allegation and response. Do you think Peter Obi is being hypocritical here? Not forgetting the fact that he had done same even without compensating those victims?
Well, I think first of all, Mr. Peter Obi, His Excellency Peter Obi, has his own, the right to express his own view. He has the right to define his political course and the strategy that he wants to adopt. We are not in a position to determine that for him. But it's our responsibility to weigh the importance, the significance, the consequences of how that will cause damage to him or cause or also help him to advance. I think in the first place, every opposition all over the world, usually look for an opportunity to demystify the ruling party, and this traditionally involves arm twisting tactics. It involves propaganda. It involves truth and half-truth. It involves lies, and it involves sensationalism. So I think we have to look at it within this context. However, but I think in other countries, which made them a little bit different from us, where there is a national lowest common factor, that leaders agree on certain principles, irrespective of when something is in the interest of the ordinary man, both the opposition and the, we agree. For instance, in 1970s, when Israel raided Entebbe, Yitzhak Rabin, the president, the prime minister, the first thing he did was to call the opposition before going on that raid. So look, this is what Israel wants to do. And the opposition leader said, oh, you are getting late. You should have done it yesterday. Because Israel agrees that, look, irrespective of our opposition and, the government, there's a lowest common factor. Biden and Trump, they are on two different, but on the issue of invasion of campuses that's going on in the US now, they both agree. So the road, the Calabar-Lagos road, if you want to oppose this project, you need to be very tactical because it might be counterproductive. It affects 9 states. This has been more than 70 years. People have been conceiving this idea. Somebody is coming to implement it. And the argument pushed forward by Obi is that, look, they should concentrate on intra-state roads. But interstate roads, mainly the responsibility of state governments. But this one is the federal government project. So for me, imagine going to Calabar. Now you spend a whole day. I can spend about 8 hours. And then you are going to pass through the coastal cities. It's going to create a lot of new settlements. It's going to decongest 9 states. It's going to also, improve tourism. It's going to improve transportation. Imagine people carrying fuel from Calabar to Lagos, Lagos to Calabar, whatever, using a trailer. How long it's going to take them? Now there's a road facility for them. And potentially that road opens up the opportunity of rail from Lagos to Calabar. So, and not to talk about other opportunities, tourism, transportation. So I think this is a milestone that I think should be, and in fact, for the fact that even the person in charge, the headmaster of the project, is from the East, it should be a pride to
Yes, exactly.
Look,
exactly.
This is the project of somebody coming from our area. So if you are not careful, you just think every project you want to attack is going to, because I know a lot of Labour Party members who think this project is a lovely project that should be supported. And look at the second phase, from Lagos to Sokoto, and then from Calabar to Enugu. And you are now saying this is not a good project. So while it is correct that opposition can, engage the people in power, you also need to be very tactical about your opposition strategies so that at the end of the day, it will not be counterproductive.
All right, Asuko, still on that, because if you look at Nigeria's infrastructure deficit, which definitely falls short of international benchmark of 70%, are you worried that despite this figure, we're still playing politics this way?
That is Nigeria for you, you understand? That is just Nigeria for you. I know so many roads, especially this Lagos-Ibadan road. There was a time that successive governments will come and they will allocate money. At the end of the day, it would still remain the same until I think it was Buhari that came and said, no, this road has to be fixed. And it was fixed, So we have so many dilapidated infrastructure. Roads especially, if you go to the north. In fact, my friend was just telling me about going to Ilori, how the road was terrible, and all that. Yeah, those are roads that we know that they can fix. Umahi said he will fix most of these roads. But this project is a federal government project. And he said he will tackle it. So I think he's not really doing too badly. All we should do is also set targets for him. If he says he's going to do something and he doesn't do it, for us to be able to get our targets and making sure that our infrastructure are in place before they leave, before this government ends. If he says he's going to fix your road, you should be able to tell you, okay, Mr. Umahi or Engineer Umahi, you said you are going to fix this particular express road. How far with it? You said you gave us 3 months or 3 years or 2 years. These are the things that I want Nigerians to do. Set targets for them. Anytime it comes, okay, when is this going to, be completed? He tells you, you write it out. So if it comes to that period that he doesn't do it, the day he wants to talk, when he goes to any press conference like this, you can challenge him.
I think the minister's statement, the minister's response was deliberate.
Yeah, it was.
What we did was a was a knockout, then the minister gave a technical knockout.
Exactly, because
that statement is the way that you are instigating.
Absolutely.
So
he knew what he
you
wanted
need to be careful when you are dealing with somebody who's also a politician who's
Right.
always very smart to respond to what you say.
And you know, Umahi did very, very well when he was governor in Ebonyi, So he understands all these things that Mr. Obi is talking. So sometimes I feel that he will just look at himself and say, but look at this man now. I did more than you when I was governor.
That's
so why are
part
you
of
coming?
the conversation on Twitter.
you
That's
know,
part of the
then
conversation.
why are you coming to come and then what did you do? What legacies do you have? Because that is what people are even asking. Mr. Obi, okay, tell us your legacy so that we can even use that one to even counter this.
I thought Obi would have raised the issue of the ecosystem.
Very good. If you talk about that,
indigenous communities. I mean, that would have been
not to
quite
say that you should
dismiss, the whole project.
Something they've started. They're already in their the 3 kilometers already.
That's it. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your perspective on the show today. I've been speaking with Adewale Adeoye and Asukwo James. Gentlemen, thank you so much. But before we leave, let's sympathize with the immediate past governor of Taraba State, Darius Ishaku, over the death of his former commissioner of health, Innocent Vakai. Quite sad. I mean, we pray for the family and the states and that God rest the soul of the dead.
Amen.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. That's all on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Stay ahead with the biggest news stories. Go beyond the news headlines. Experience impactful investigations. Enjoy resourceful news coverage in real time. TVC News at 7 and TVC News at 10 p.m. Live every day on this channel. TVC News. First with breaking news. You're watching Beyond 100 Days with Nifemi Oguntoye. President Tinubu sends